What's up, everybody? Armchair Quarterbacks here for another Week 8 recap. In this one, we've got Mantequilla versus My Chubb is Broken. That's Shawn losing in an unfortunate blowout with 79.66 points to Manny's 138.26 points. Good win for you here, Manny. Let's take a look here. So Shawn started this week Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Darren Waller, Isaiah Pacheco, and Zay Flowers. So the obvious thing here with Shawn's team, Josh Allen scoring 30 points. This is what you like to see from Josh Allen. This is kind of what you expected, 25 to 30 points on average per game. He had 40 passing attempts, which is great because, once a quarterback gets into the 40 passing attempts plus, obviously their game, they're not going to have too many dropped passes. So their game is going to be pretty decent. And you would expect if they have 40 plus passing attempts that they're possibly close to or over 300 passing yards. However, unfortunately for you in this game, it did look like mostly they were throwing to Gabe Davis over Stephon Diggs. I mean, Stephon Diggs still had 12 targets and 9 receptions. But I believe Gabe Davis also saw 12 targets. And then it was just Gabe Davis's turn to, grab those touchdowns. I think you would call it your touchdown deodorant there for Gabe Davis. I don't think there's anything here to worry about with Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs will probably get into Josh Allen's ear next week or the week after, saying, hey, let me get a touchdown. But yeah, I don't think there's anything here to worry about. Really more so the concern is just Josh Allen and hoping that his shoulder injury, whatever he's dealing with, because I saw it in this game and I think last week too, any touchdown that he's throwing, he's not, once he gets to celebrate with his teammates, he's not, putting his hands up in the air to give them high fives or anything. I believe he was trying to keep his arms lower, keep his arm and shoulder safe for the throwing game. So just keep an eye on that. But T. Higgins finally getting involved a little bit here with 5 receptions for 69 yards. I think after the week 7 bye week, the Cincinnati Bengals are starting to heat up. Obviously it's only the first game back, but watching that game, they looked pretty good. And San Francisco's not an easy defense to play up against. So I think you can have some hope here that T. Higgins might have some life for you. Bijan Robinson, 12 points, 12.2 points. He had some usage here. Definitely not as much usage as you would hope because, he had the 5 targets, but zero receptions. But also, especially seeing that he was like the highly touted running back coming out of college, going into the NFL, you want to see more usage. But you and I have talked about it. The Falcons, it's a weird year. It's a weird offense. They talked about being a run-heavy offense, but for some reason, Arthur Smith isn't living up to it. And, they're being more balanced, passing the ball around a lot. So I think here, really, you're just hoping Bijan Robinson starts to see more usage and uptick in usage. And Arthur Smith kind of gets back to his running first offense type of look. Ramondre Stevenson, this is just about kind of summing up the rest of the season so far. 10 rushing attempts for 39 yards. Can't really get anything going there. 2 targets for 11 yards. I mean, with Mac Jones as his quarterback, I don't blame him that those 11 yards don't go anywhere. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Ramondre Stevenson is like playing very consistently for you or the team, but they do have Indianapolis in week 10 and then a bye week in week 11. So hopefully they can make it to week 11 for the bye week and keep Ramondre Stevenson healthy, and then they can rest up and try and reevaluate how they want to run their offense, and hopefully that works out better in Ramondre Stevenson's favor. Darren Waller going down early with an unfortunate hamstring injury. That's unfortunate. You can't really do anything about that there. I am still considering your trade offer that we talked about. I'm still kind of seeing what I want to do there. But Darren Waller, I think, he's still got a pretty decent schedule, but if he's going to be out for the next few weeks, it's going to be pretty rough. Isaiah Pacheco, just a down game here. He wasn't as involved in the rushing game as you would like, especially up against Denver. But this was a weird game where Denver ended up outing the Chiefs 9-24. So I think this is just a down game. You're going to see him bounce back next week. And then Zay Flowers, you traded for him. This was another one where it was a weird situation for him. He had the looks, but I think Arizona's defense for some reason is really surprising to some offenses, and they didn't account for it. So, the 19 yards that he scored, that he was able to get, really is showing that Arizona's defense can be sneaky. So they're not really one to run up the score up against. So I think he'll have better days. He's got a pretty decent schedule coming up, and especially going into the playoffs. So I think he'll be okay. Taking a look at your bench here. Yeah, there's not really anything that I would have changed out. In retrospect, looking back though, I might have changed some things out here and there, but that's looking back. Kendrick Bourne, I think you dropped him since he, I remember seeing you dropped him, confirming that he had a torn ACL. All right, so let's take a look here at Manny's team. Manny started Kirk Cousins, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, TJ Hawkinson, Nico Collins, and Calvin Ridley. So two big things here. Kirk Cousins was looking really good in this game. He had 274 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He even rushed a little bit. Unfortunately, he ended up leaving the game. I think it was like in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he exited in the fourth quarter, and it's been confirmed after today. He did tear his Achilles tendon, so he's going to be out for the rest of the year. And that's going to be a big hit to the Vikings. So I believe I saw, Manny, that you had already dropped Kirk Cousins and picked up somebody else. I believe it was Dak Prescott. So I think that's a good pickup there, because Dak Prescott's coming off pretty hot from his bye week. So I think you can look for good days there ahead. CeeDee Lamb, obviously this is a byproduct of Dak Prescott coming off hot. 14 targets for 12 receptions and 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. Holy moly, this was a ridiculous game for him. And up against the Rams defense, who, as of late, they haven't really given up that many points to the wide receivers. So seeing this, oh man, I think, and looking at Dallas's schedule coming up, they have Philadelphia next week. I think you can smash the start button on this guy, CeeDee Lamb. And I think that, it's going to be I think he's going to look for this 36 points, the 14 targets, 12 receptions. I think he's going to try to replicate this. And I think Dallas is going to figure out and see, like, okay, you know what? Tony Pollard's not really working out as well for us. We need to throw the ball out more. And guess what? CeeDee Lamb's going to be a big benefactor of that. Deontay Johnson actually was involved a lot more than I had predicted in my previews. 14 targets. That is ridiculous. He did have 85 yards, so you're loving that right there. And then if this is the same next week and he adds a touchdown to this, you're going to love it. The only thing for me here with Deontay Johnson is very scary with that hamstring injury. He missed all these weeks with a hamstring injury. So you're hoping that he can stay healthy and the team keeps him healthy, and you're going to love it. Joe Mixon. This is a player that I've talked about before, saying, I wanted to trade for him. I wanted to draft him. And I remember my brother saying, no, he wasn't really, hot on Mixon. 16 rushing attempts, which is more than his average for this year, I believe. 87 rushing yards. We're finally seeing, like I said in a different, with T. Higgins, we're finally seeing the Cincinnati Bengals kind of come on a little bit. they had that bye week. They were able to recalibrate in the bye week and figure out what's working, what's not working in their offense. Obviously, this 87 yards is proving that, their O-line is starting to gel a little bit better. So I think going up against San Francisco's really good defense, I think you can hope and pray to see better days and just like this in the next coming few weeks, because he's got a pretty decent schedule as well coming up. All right, so we've got Javonte Williams, who's looking pretty good now. 27 rushing attempts. Oh my gosh. Now, I don't think he's going to get this many, after the bye week, but 27 rushing attempts for 85 yards, that's crazy. Now, if the team decides in their bye week that, hey, you know what, we're going to try to get Javonte Williams 20 plus touches each week, dude, start him. I mean, the offense isn't going to be that great either way, but they're looking better than last year for sure, and they're looking better still than what they had to start the year. So I think Javonte Williams, even though he's not in a very great defense, I think you'll be okay starting him. TJ Hawkinson played really great, just like any other game. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown. The only thing here for him really that I can say is he's probably going to take a big hit without Kirk Cousins. Nico Collins, 5 points. Calvin Ridley, we're seeing 11 points here. He finally got into the game with 6 receptions and 83 yards. He had 10 targets. All right, so that's what you like to see. Now, the only thing is, can that stay consistent? I think in their bye week, the Jaguars are going to try and figure out their offensive scheme, see what they're going to do, see what's been working with Calvin Ridley, see what's not been working. And, hopefully coming out of their bye week, Ridley's going to look better for you. All right. And nothing really here to talk about on the bench. You did have Rachaad White, who did have 7 targets and 7 receptions for 70 yards. But, he has been involved in the passing game. So that's really what's been holding him up as a running back for you. But other than that, I think, it's going to be interesting in the future weeks because, not just Kirk Cousins, but most of our managers in our league are dealing with some kind of injury designation, whether it's somebody out long-term on IR or somebody coming out for the season. But good job on the win for you there, Manny. Better luck next week, Shawn. Congrats to you, Manny. And that'll be it for this one. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.